Hello, welcome to our history revision series. Today we will discuss ancient history of India. We all know that ancient history of India is an important topic that all the competitive exams will ask frequently questions in this part. Most of the aspirants do not know how to deal with the ancient history, whether we have to deal with we have to study or by heart all the chronological order, or how we can deal with the ancient history. So today we are dealing ancient history of India in this series in a highly exam oriented way, so that all of you can learn the ancient history through this series in a easy way. We hope that all the aspirants they are preparing for the upcoming CGL, CHSL, CPO like competitive exams will get benefit out of it. Also, if you are a beginner for these competitive examinations, you can get an idea about all the important events, topics that you have to deal with or you have to study with ancient history of India. So let's move on to our revision series. In this series, we will deal our session with as part 1 and part 2. Part 1 deals with all the important areas that we have to cover, and we will make you understand what ancient history all about is, and we will give you all the information about the important period, dynasties, important rulers, famous personals like ambassadors or writers or travelers at that time, and also major developments that took place in all the periods of ancient history. So, firstly, we are looking into part 1, and covering part 1, we will move on to part 2. That is most important. That is the most important and expected questions that you have to understand, you have to practice for cracking all the competitive exams. So, we will provide you many practice questions, uh, MCQs, so that you can solve and understand your learning better. So let's move on to the topic. Ancient history. Ancient history is divided into various periods, which is for the understanding purpose and to study it in a easy way. So ancient history, the first period that we will discuss about the prehistoric period. That means there is a period in which no evidences about the human history in that period is not found anywhere. So about we don't know how human lived, and what was their nature of living, their lifestyle, their work. We don't know anything about it. That period is called prehistoric period. Then later moving on, the next period or the important period is Stone Age. Stone Age simply means a period in the ancient history that we will study about human according to the nature of stone tools they are used. We know that the ancient people, human used tools which are made up of stones. So, their stone tool usage is varying according to the periods. So, Stone Age discusses the human history according to the nature of stone tool they are used. So that Stone Age is divided into three phases, that is Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic period. We can learn all of them detail. The first one is Paleolithic. Paleolithic is further divided into Lower Paleolithic, Middle Paleolithic and Upper Paleolithic. Lower Paleolithic is the ancient one, that is from 5 lakh BC to 1 lakh BC. Middle Paleolithic is 1 lakh is from 1 lakh BC to 40,000 BC. Also, Upper Paleolithic is from 40,000 to 10,000 BC. So, Paleolithic deals up to 10,000 BC. In this each period, the usage of stone were different. First of all, people used hand axes, cleavers, choppers like equipments. Later, in the Middle and Upper Paleolithic, the usage of stone tools is slightly changed, that they became small and blade-like pointed equipments. So, these are all about the Paleolithic. Moving on to the next one, that is Mesolithic. Mesolithic means that is Mesolithic. Mesolithic is a period which covers up to 4,000 BC. Here, the people used microliths, that means small and sharp tools for their hunting purposes, also all other purposes also, so that their hunting or the daily activity for food became easy, and so that they got several leisure times to spend with. In this period, we will deal with, or we can get evidences of the Mesolithic paintings that they are used. Also, the most important thing about Mesolithic period is domestication of animals. The wild animals are domesticated for the purposes of the human. Then later, the next period or the third phase of the Stone Age is Neolithic. That is Neolithic. That is from 4000 BC to the starting of IVC, that is Indus Valley Civilization. That is up to 2500 BC. We will get evidences from Neolithic period. That in that period, the stone tools were highly polished and also agricultural practices were high. They invented wheel that led to the emergence of pottery making, and also megalithic burials are there. Frequent use of fire was there. These are all about the Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic period. So you just understand all the terms and what it means. We don't need to go through the indents of these periods that are not exam specific. So the next stage that we have to deal with Indus Valley Civilization, that is from 2500 to 1500 BC. It is a most important and highly flourished civilization in India, that is Indus Valley Civilization. It covers major parts of India and the parts in Pakistan also. In this time, surplus of agriculture were there. Also, trades of copper, silver, gold, and also cotton-like materials also traded with other civilizations or other parts of the world. Also, boat making knowledge was high, double burial practices were also used. So, Indus Valley civilization is an important period, and you have to know the time period that the Indus Valley civilization emerged. The end of Indus Valley civilization is different for different historians. Most of the historians believe that it is due to Aryan inversion theory. That means there is also ecological factors like floods or other phenomena that many believe that that is the that is the reason for the failure of Indus Valley civilization. But most of them believe that the Aryan invaded to India from Central Asia sides, and they defeated the indigenous people in the Indus Valley civilization, and this led to the decline of Indus Valley civilization uh, in the 1500 BC. So, in this time, we should also deal with the Chalcolithic culture also. At this time, it is at the end of Indus Valley civilization. That is, in 1800 BC times, the people started to flood to other areas from the Indus Valley civilization areas due to the inversion of Aryans. So at this time, copper and stone were used. The Chalcolithic age means, the Chalcolithic word itself means, lithic means stone and chalco means copper. That is, at that time, copper is used highly. They also practiced a particular burial system in which north-south direction and also plinth of their houses is used for burial is also prevalent. Then this is the very ancient time in the history of human, so that you should focus on the terms or the names of this period, that is Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, IVC, Chalcolithic culture only. Then moving on to the Aryan inversion period. Aryan inversion is mainly by invading tribes from the Central Asia that are Aryans. We call Aryans, they are the invaded tribes from Central Asia to India. They defeated the indigenous people. So, because they had so many horses and chariots at that time. So that the indigenous people fled to many other areas. The Aryan inversion is considered to be a most important event in the ancient history of India. They are linguistic groups. They promoted or they developed the Sanskrit language. First, the Sanskrit language was in Shruti tradition. Later, it developed to Brahmi script. So, after Aryan inversion, the period can be shifted into two. That is, Vedic period. That is, this time where they invaded and settled, the Vedic period starts. The Vedic period can be divided into two: early Vedic period and later Vedic period. Early Vedic period is time from 1500 to 1000 BC. In this time, the tribes that are Aryans are settled, and they were uh, pastor pastorals, so they move on in search of good pastured land. They were also the important taxation was voluntary tax called Bali. And also in their structure, there were a Rajan who take care all the needs and uh, fear of the Aryan people, Aryan tribes, and the Rajan can be assisted by the Sabha, Samiti, and Vidata. Sabha is a group of large personals who help Rajan in decision making. Samiti is also an administrative part, which is slightly less in member than Sabha. Also, Vidata were there. Vidata means a highly religious oriented group. Women were highly respected in the early Vedic period, highly educated. No evidences of child marriage were there. Also, women participated in Sabha and Vidata. There is also one of the important term that we have to look is the Dasrajan War. It was one of a famous war. That is between the king or the Raja Sudas with the head priest of that time, that is Vishwamitra. The conflict between or the dispute between them took place in the bank of Parushni. Parushni means the later Revi. Then defeated the Vishwamitra by Sudas. The defeated Aryans were called Das and defeated non-Aryans were called Dasyus. The Das were given more weightage or more priority than Dasyus. There were also religious beliefs that are Indra, Agni, Varun, Savitri also worshipped. Then moving on to the later Vedic period, that is from 1000 to 600 BC, the use of iron were clear. So use of iron started in this period so that they can clean the dense forest very easily. So it is highly used. The taxation also Bali is there along with an involuntary taxation, that is Bhaga is also there. That is 1 by 6th of the tax of the produce is given as tax. Later, when comparing to the early Vedic period, later Vedic period had many changes. That the Rajan or the king in early Vedic period that we also said that he was not much powerful. He is guided by the Samiti, Sabha, and Vidata. But in later Vedic period, the king became more important. The Sabha Samiti lost their relevance and also Vidata were disappeared. The Brahmin people become more strong. The important rituals were Rajasuya, Ashwamedha, Vajpaya, etc. Also, Varna system were introduced. Women were outcasted from many important ritualistic religious practices. The Asramic Vyavastha were also there. That is Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa was also relevant at that time. Religious beliefs include Prajapati, Rudra, Vishnu, etc. Then after that we are coming to most important ruler time. Before that we have to deal with the Sramana tradition in 6th century. Sramana tradition just means an ascetic philosophy or the heterodox philosophy in which they don't believe the authority of Vedas. Some of the Sramana tradition raised in the 6th century were Buddhism, Jainism, Karvaga, and Ajivika. Karvaga means they believe in the perception than God. They believe that perception is more important in life. Ajivika is a philosophy which believe in Niyati doctrines. That means they believe that each person fate or destiny is prefixed. The human can only experience these fate or the events that took place to our fate. They cannot change their fate or destiny. So later, in the end of 6th century, Mahajanapadas were formed. There were 16 Mahajanapadas in India. Initially, Kashi, Kosala were powerful. Later, Magadha became important. That is due to more fertile land, the land location, also the iron or the main iron ore centers were also focused in Magadha. So later Magadha became one of the major Mahajanapada among the 16 Mahajanapadas. So from here we have to focus on the important rulers and dynasties in the ancient history. So from this the important topics begins in the exam point of view. The Magadha we will deal with Magadha. The initial rulers of Magadha were Brihadratna, Jarasandha, which are highly specified in the Mahabharata also, their names. Later, the considered important ruler of Magadha were Bimbisar. Bimbisar started the Haryanga dynasty, that is from 544 to 492 BC. He made various military conquests and also matrimonial alliances to form Magadha as a major powerful Mahajanapada at that time. So he won also. Then later his son Ajatashatru assassinated his father Bimbisar and came into power. He also were aggressive in military conquest and he had more innovative tools like war engine, rotating mason rat machines, so that he won in all the battle that he involved. Later, one of the important king that we have to deal with in this time is Udayin. Udayin constructed the Padaliputra. So these three rulers is more important in the Mahajanapada time or the end of 6th century, that we have to deal with Bimbisar, later Ajatashatru, and later Udayin. Udayin were famous for the construction of city Padaliputra. Then next one was Shishunaga dynasty, that is in 412 to 344 BC time. The most important ruler in Shishunaga dynasty were Kalashok. Kalashok was famous for he patronized the second Buddhist council and he was a Buddhist also. Then later Nanda dynasty came. It was the first non-Kshatriya dynasty. One of the important rulers were Dhanananda. Dhanananda defeated Alexander and Dhanananda stopped the aggression of Alexander to India. Then after Dhanananda, he was defeated and killed by Chandragupta Maurya with the help of Vishnugupta or Vishnugupta is also known as Kaudilya or Chanakya. So after Nanda dynasty, the important dynasty that started in India as Maurya dynasty. The Chandragupta Maurya also defeated Seleucus Nicator. He was a Greek ruler at that time and his Greek ambassador Megasthenes were in the court of Maurya. Megasthenes wrote a book called Indica and which deals with all the socio-economic, religious, administrative reforms or the processes that Maurya dynasty dealt with. So, we should focus on the names of these dynasties and also the most important rulers, also the famous personals like Megasthenes, his book, etc. After Chandragupta Maurya, his son Bindusar came into power. He extended Maurya dynasty to south also. Then later Ashoka came. Ashoka was also a powerful king, and he patronized the fourth Buddhist council. He patronized the third Buddhist council, and he accepted Buddhism after Kalinga War. Then after Maurya dynasty, after Ashoka, so many rulers were there, but the most important in Maurya dynasty were Chandragupta Maurya, Bindusar, and Ashoka. Later, uh, the Maurya dynasty were defeated by Shunga dynasty, that were the Brahmin dynasty. The major ruler were Pushyamitra Shunga. Then these are the important things that we have to deal with in the Maurya dynasty, or from Magadha to Shunga dynasty. It was an important period in which we have to focus on the dynasties, the important rulers, the famous personals at that time. Then later we are dealing with post-Mauryan period. After Mauryan dynasty was a very vast dynasty in India. Later, after the defeat of Maurya dynasty, so many small dynasties were originated, and after post-Mauryan period, we will deal all the important dynasties in the North India, in the Deccan region, and also in the South region separately. So first of all, we are dealing with North India. After Maurya, the North India is invaded by the Indo-Greeks. In Indo-Greeks, the one of the important ruler were Menander. He was influenced by Nagasena to accept Buddhism, and it was described in the book Milind Panho, which is considered to be a religious text of Buddhist. Then later, after Indo-Greeks, Shagas were formed. The important ruler of Shaga were Rudradaman. The Shagas were in frequent conflict with the Satvahans also. Rudradaman defeated the Satvahan king Satakarni, and it was described in the Junagar inscription, in which the Sudarshan Lake reforms reconstruction also mentioned. So you have to understand that in Shaga rulers, Rudradaman is considered to be the most famous one. After Shaga, the next important dynasty were Kushanas. The important ruler were Kanishka, in which the fourth Buddhist council, he was patronized the fourth Buddhist council, and in that Buddhist council, the split of Buddhism into Hinayana and Mahayana were occurred. Also, you have to notice that in the Kanishka period, the Shaka era is started, which is an Indian calendar that we are following, is started in the 78th century by 78th Christian era by Kanishka. So it is also an important that we have to follow. He accepted Mahayana Buddhism. Then later, So these are the most important dynasties and personals that we have to focus after post-Mauryan in the North India. That are first of all Indo-Greeks, then Shagas, then Kushanas. Then moving on to the next region, that is Deccan region. In Deccan region, the first one were Shunga dynasty. There were we have discussed that the Mauryan were defeated by the Shunga dynasty, and they were also a Brahmanic ritualistic based one. The Patanjali, the famous Patanjali, were the contemporary or were lived in this time, in the Shunga dynasty time. So it is important. Agnimitra was an important ruler. It is discussed in the Malavika Agnimitra by Kalidas also. After Shunga dynasty, the famous one were Kanvas. It was also a Brahmanic based one. Greek ambassador Heliodorus came to India at this time and were influenced by the Brahmanic religion and accepted it. After Kanva, later Satvahans were the famous one. They were the first rulers to issue lead coins. They defeated the Kanvas. The major rulers at this time were Vasishthaputra Satakarni and also Gautamiputra Satakarni. Vasishthaputra Satakarni were defeated by Rudradaman, that we have also discussed in the first slides also. Gautamiputra Satakarni were the important ruler in that time, and he was described in the Nashik inscription at that time. So here in Deccan region after post-Mauryan period, we have to focus on the Shunga dynasty, in which Patanjali and Malavika by Kalidasa is important. Then Kanvas, in which the Greek ambassador Heliodorus is important. Then Satvahans, where the Gautamiputra Satakarni, Vasishthaputra Satakarni were important. Then moving on to the South India. In the South India after post-Mauryan, there were three major kingdoms, that were Chera, Chola and Pandyas. These three kingdoms were highly rich with the trade with Roman. The loved god of them are Murugan or Kartikeyan or Skanda. The first one, Chera. Chera is belong to the Kerala region. They are known as Kerala Putras. Important ruler were Senguttavan. It's also known as Red or Good Chera, and also Nedum Chera Ladan is also important. They constructed temple of Kanagi. Then the next one is Chola. Chola is belong to the region Tanjavur and Chennai. Early Chola early Chola period, the famous one was called Elava. Then Pandya. Pandya was based on Madurai. He patronized three Sangam assemblies. After the Sangam assemblies, two devotees were famous, Alvas and Nayanas. Alvas means Vishnu believers, and also Nayanas means Shiva believers. There were simple religious poems in Tamil at that time that were called Tevarams. So it is also important. In this time, the Sangam age were predominant. There were two epics in the Sangam age, that were Silapadigaram and Manimekale. Silapadigaram is wrote by Ilango Adigal, and also Manimekale is wrote by Chitali Chatanar. The third Sangam assembly was held in Madurai under the patronage of Pandya rulers, and in which the 2000 poems were brought into 8 books. So, in the South India, we have to focus on Chera, in Senguttavan, and also Nedum Cheraladan, along with Chola, then Pandyas, in which the two epics were famous, and also Alvas and Nayanar should be focused, and Tevaram should be known. So, it is all about the post-Mauryan period. Then later session, we have to focus on the Gupta dynasty, Harshavardhan, and some of the important topics. So, Gupta dynasty. Gupta dynasty is in the 4th century AD. The initial ruler was Sri Gupta. Kumaradevi Koi, the important ruler in Gupta dynasty were Chandragupta I. It was in his time the Kumaradevi coins were issued. After Chandragupta I, his son Samudragupta became the ruler. The court poet Harisena is at the time of Samudragupta. He was a patronizer of music and art. It was also in the some of the coins that were in that period. Later, after Samudragupta, the next ruler was Chandragupta II, also called Vikramaditya. In his court, 9 jewels or Navaratnas were there. There were famous, it included famous Varahamihira, Dhanvantari, Kalidasa, Aryabhatta, etc. Also, Valsyayan were also contemporary at this time. Chinese Buddhist Fahian came to India in his time and wrote the book Fukao Ki. These Gupta dynasty were defeated by the Hunas in the 5th century AD. Gupta had practice of giving land to Brahmins, that is called Agrahara. Their source of income were land revenue, that is commonly 1/6 of their produce, that can be extended to 1/2 also. So, most important things that you have to deal with the Gupta dynasty were the rulers. First of all, Chandragupta I, then Samudragupta. In his time, the court poet Harisena were there. Later, Chandragupta II, that is Vikramaditya. In his time, the 9 jewels names is important. Varahamihira, Dhanvantari, Kalidasa, Aryabhatta, etc. Also, Valsyayan were at this time. Also, the Buddhist traveler's name and his book is important. And Gupta dynasty is defeated by Hunas. Then, moving on to their coin art, that is called numismatic art. There were normal coins and also special coins. Normal coins means in one side the king's image is there. In the other side, the most important god is there in the opposite side. That were for normal coins. Then special coins were also there. We have discussed about the Kumaradevi coins, artistic coins were there, Garuda coins were there. Artistic coins also include the Samudragupta, who's playing Veena, is an important one. Then religious practices at this time were important. Tridev and Tridevi were there. Tridev include Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara. Tridevi include Lakshmi, Parvati and Durga. Also, brick temple construction were high in this time. Position of women were respected as goddesses in this time. The currency were called dinar. In this time, the Shudras were classified into Nirvasida and Anirvasida. Nirvasida means they can be live in the village, or Anirvasida should have to live in outer places in villages. The Chandals is an example of Anirvasida Sudras. So, moving on to the Gupta decline. That after the Gupta decline, there were a political vacuum created in North India, which was filled on 7th century AD. After Gupta period, one of the famous ruler were Harshavardhana. His dynasty were called Pushyabhudi dynasty, which is an important one. It was in North India. He decided to expand his kingdom to South India, but it was defeated by the Chalukya ruler Pulakeshin II. Harshavardhana was a great writer also. He wrote books Priyadarshika, Ratnavali, Nagananda, etc. The Buddhist monk Huan Sang were also in that period. After the death of Harshavardhan, three important dynasties emerged in North and Deccan. So here, in the Harshavardhan dynasty, Pushyabhudi dynasty time were very famous and very important one. He was in North India and he was defeated by the Pulakeshin II. His books, and also the most important one and frequently asking was the Buddhist monk Huan Sang. And after Harshavardhana, so many dynasties. First one, Pala dynasty. Pala dynasty were on the eastern part of India. Important ruler was Dharampal. Also, Pratihar dynasty were there, that is on the western part. The important feature were strongest cavalry were there with him. There were Rashtrakuta dynasty, that is in the Deccan region. Should focus on the names and the places where it based. In the South India, after Satvahans, Vakadagas, and later two important dynasties were there, Chalukyas and Pallavas. Chalukya were in the Vadabi and also Pallava in the Kanchi region. They were in continuous conflict with each other and also with the Rashtrakutas. Most important and powerful Chalukya ruler was Pulakeshin II. He defeated Mahendravarman I. He was in the Pallava and also annexed the most part of the Pallavas, that is in the south. But later, the Pallava ruler Narasimhavarman I annexed the Chalukya capital Vadabi. He took the title of Vadabi Kondi, that is conqueror of Vadabi. In this time, we also know that the Pallava were introduced the Dravida style of temple architecture, and also Chalukyas were introduced the Vesara style of temple architecture. Chalukyas later divided into Eastern and Western Chalukyas. Then the dispute between Pallava and Chalukya led to the emergence of mainline Chola. That is also an important one, that is mainline Chola. That is in the 9th century. Important rulers in the mainline Chola were Rajaraja I and Rajendra I. They had great naval power, so that they annexed most of the dynasties at that time and became expandatory in nature. The Rajendra I led an expansionary policy. He made cultural. He expanded his kingdom in some of the Southeast Asian countries, so that the cultural exchanges with them was there in this time. He defeated the Pala ruler Mahipal on the bank of Ganga at Bengal. So he took the title of Gangai Konda Chola, that means conqueror of Ganga. So mainland Chola is important, and also the Rajendra Rajaraja, Rajendra's expansionary policy and Gangai Konda Chola title were important. In this period of Pallava, the Nadaraja sculpture was famous. The Chola administration was also a very striking one. The administrative places were divided into mandalams, Valanadu, and Ur. The villages under Pallava were highly autonomous. They used various rainwater harvesting techniques for to the irrigation purposes, for to the drilling purposes also. So it was all about the ancient history time. So in this you have to focus mainly on the period after Magadha, that is Magadha, Nanda, then Maurya, post Mauryan periods, most Mauryan dynasties, and later the Gupta period, then Harshavardhan period, and also some of the Chola, mainland Chola periods, etc. We have to focus on each of them in an orderly fashion, and should know the important rulers, the important personals that are famous at that time. Most of the questions asked in this area about a ruler or about a person in a specific time. So, should focus on these things well. The ancient warfare was of two types, that is Yuddhanidhi and Kudanidhi. Yuddhanidhi means the face to face war. Kudanidhi means the diplomatic war or the diplomatic warfare without face to face. That is there in the ancient history texts. Also, the Vedas, according to Vedas, major type of arms used at that time is Mukta, Amukta, Mukta, Amukta, Mandra Mukta. Mukta means like the arrow-like equipments that we can release. Amukta means the Gada-like equipments that we cannot release them, we can hold and battle. Mukta Amukta is a combination of both this. Mandramukta means some of the arrows that can be arise by chanting. These are the important terms that we have to focus. So, with this, we dealt with all the important events, all the important dynasties, all the rulers that are frequently asked in every competitive exams. So you have to go thoroughly with these dynasties and rulers so that you can learn and you can crack good marks in ancient history in all the exams. So in part 2, it is part 1. Then in part 2 we will deal with most important and most expected MCQs in ancient history. So to make your to study hard the topics that we are covered in part 1, then answer the MCQs that we are providing in ancient history to remember and to understand better ancient history. So we will upload it later. If you like our video, please subscribe our channel and also like, share and comment our videos. Click on the bell icon to get further updates. The part 2 will be uploaded in a few days. So support us and subscribe our channel. Thank you.